Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Allison Heaney, Vice President of Learning and Public Programs, and I want to welcome you today, Wednesday, June 26, 2024, to this edition of MOLAA Zoom Project in conversation with the artist Rejane Cantoni, where MOLAA Chief Curator Gabriela Urtiaga will discuss with the artist her work and career. MOLAA also acknowledges the support of the Miller Foundation, the Dwight Stewart Youth Fund, and the Arts Council for Long Beach for their constant support of educational initiatives at the museum, and a special thanks to the California Arts Council Arts Exposure Grant. Each chapter of the MOLAA Zoom Project features a conversation between the most remarkable Latin American and Latinx artists creating today and our MOLAA Chief Curator. Together, we focus on a series of specific artworks which require a close inspection, a deliberate process of contemplation and exploration, delving into the ideas surrounding the creation of the works, their resources of research and inspiration, in an effort to immerse ourselves in the world of the artist. In this chapter, we are joined by Rejane Cantoni, whose large-scale installations offer visceral meditations on how humans perceive and communicate with the time spaces they inhabit. Cantoni has exhibited in numerous art institutions worldwide, including Ars Electronica, Linz, Berlin, Mexico City, the Creators Project, New York, São Paulo, GLOW, STRP festivals, Espacio Fundación Telefônica in Buenos Aires, Copenhagen Contemporary Art Festival, FILE International Festival and Electronic Language, Mois Multi in Quebec, ThingWorld.International Triennial New Media Art 2014 Beijing, and many, many more listed in our show notes below. She is a board member of the Interplanetary Initiative at Arizona State University and holds 2 post-PhDs in arts from the University of São Paulo and a Ph.D. and Masters in Communications from Semiotics from the Catholic University in São Paulo. Before becoming a full-time artist, she was the Assistant Dean and Professor of Mathematics, Physics, and Technology Center at the Catholic University. And as we begin this presentation, we encourage you to share your questions and feedback using the chat feature below. We'll be hosting a Q&A at the end of this session. I'm so excited to welcome you both. So of course, now I'll hand it off to our Chief Curator. And of course, welcome Rejane. We're so pleased to have you here.
Bravo, Rejane, bon dia. Thank you, Alison, and all the MOLAA team. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Zoom Project series that is fully dedicated to Arteônica, Art, Science, and Technology in Latin America and today. That is this MOLAA project that is part of the 2024 Getty Pacific Standard Time Initiative. And we are so happy to talk with the amazing artist, Rejane Cantoni. Bom dia, Rejane.
Bom dia, Gabriela. Bom dia, everybody. This is an amazing pleasure. I mean, I'm super happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. And you are a real inspiration. All the MOLAA team, we are so happy because we will welcome you in September for the group show with different amazing artists, pioneer and contemporary artists, and you will be part of this important conversation. And Rejane, well, the idea is to have an approach about your diverse and powerful body of work and to share with our audience some of your concepts, your questions, your beginning as an artist, and also if you can explain the intersection about art and technology in your body of work.
Well, it all begins with a dream. I dream a lot. And to realize my dreams, which are like tactile, visual, audio dreams, I needed to research all the knowledge that's available, right? So everything did. Let's pretend you wake up with the dream of building a new bridge. To do that, you need to research in all areas of knowledge. And that's how I work. So it all begins with an idea and how to implement that idea. How do we, first, I have like 9 steps to do an idea. And the first one is to understand the idea clearly, then I try to design it to make hypotheses about it. Then I research, I think, did anybody did that before? How did they do it? Is the way I want, or I want it to be a little different? How different? What kind of equipment do I need? What kind of team do I need with me to be able to build that? The team sometimes is software, like going to the library, reading the previous people that wrote things about the subject, right? And other times, no, it's real people that I need to, the electrician, the people that knows how to set up the exhibition, the people that delivers things, everybody's involved. So it's a dream that I dream with a lot of people. And that's why it's so much fun. And when you dream with a lot of people, you don't have borders, right? Why? How can I mean, I cannot stand inside of one discipline. Art is big, but it's not enough to solve some of the problems. So then I flirt with other disciplines. And to me, to build something like that, there is no frontiers. It's all together, a lot of people involved, a lot of design and desires involved. And that's how the work grows by itself. It becomes something else.
This is amazing. And also, when I see you in action, in conversation with your team, with the audiences, I think you create through your body of work a real community, right? That you are talking about science, about technology, about the future, but also about how we can do a better community, right? Through the art, maybe.
Right, because I mean, you need to dream a good dream, right? A dream that makes life better for many people. And that's one way of doing it, I think, because being a woman from Brazil, my generation, it's not that common to be able to do what I did. And I just did that because my dreams are not my dreams, but they are common dreams. They are dreams that sometimes, one thing that I always thought about my work was I want people to be happy. I want them to be happy by the fact that they experience something new, that they perceive something they were not perceiving. And to myself, for example, the main thing is about discovering the universe. What am I doing here? How can I see a little bit farther? How can I see the invisible? How can I hear what I cannot hear with my ears? And I think there are so many people researching and doing things to expand that experience. Living is such an experience, and living expanded is more fun, right? So the whole idea is trying to expand the senses, and that's why it connects with science, it connects with technology, with communication, because how we are made, how we perceive the world, and how can we spend that interface to see farther, to talk to more people. I think that's the whole game, you know, that's the mission.
That is amazing, Rejane. And if you like, we can start to review some of your fabulous artwork and installations. And we have here Opera Sonic Dimension, that is an immersive installation with sound and vibration. And tell us more about this fabulous piece.
So Opera Sonic Dimension is a project that I started developing with Daniela Kutschat in Brazil. In fact, 1998, we started the project. The whole idea in this project was to try to put a 3D body inside of an environment, like inside of one dimension, spatial environments, like the physics is telling us we have 11 dimensions. How would be to experience that? So we started with what we had, and that would be, let's say, the dimension 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And the project is really big. We started exploring it with virtual reality caves. There was one in Brazil. We did a long research. And one thing that was really difficult was the sound, because we always asked people, we were designing the interfaces for visuals and for tactiles, but the tactile interface and the visual, it was okay, it's easier for us. But when it comes to sound, we needed to involve musicians in the work. And we always thought the work was really nice, the outputs, but they were not opera, because the whole idea in opera is, if you get into opera, sonic dimension, if you are able to see, great, you see the lines. But if you're not able to see, you can hear them. You would be that you would have the output of the project, like hearing, seeing. You could suppress one of your perceptive capacities, and still you would get the same effect, the same message. So when we got to Opera Sonic Dimension, it's like one of the, I think that's the 5th installation we did. And in this one, I remember our key thing was to make sound visible and to make visuals like sound. And to do that, we thought, okay, we are going to do a series of lines. They are strings. They are in the virtual world. Those strings, when I get close to them, if I go like that, the interface recognizes my action and pulls it, like if I were a very tiny person inside a violin. I would vibrate one chord, and then this is all virtual, right? And then this chord would reverberate and vibrate the chords that are next to it. So the instrument is kind of the tune is like, it's very high in the middle, very low in the ends, and you can play that as an instrument. Besides that, you can talk, and while you're talking, the environment hears you, and it vibrates the sound, like imitating the sounds that you are producing. So one thing that happened to this work that was very moving to us is that I school with people that could not hear. They went to visit the installation. And then the teacher said, okay, if you make noise, you will see the chords vibrating. And then that's what they did. And what they did was more than this, because they were vibrating and they were imitating, trying to imitate and vibrate the same chords together. So they established a communication through visuals, doing sounds. That was really something special.
Yeah, and also it's so important because you spend too much time to create the idea, to produce the installation with the rest of your team, but also the real piece is finished, or is the beginning at the same time when the audiences participate in it, right?
Exactly. And about time, this is fun because this project, we won a prize. We applied for a prize at Bill Center for Arts and Technology at Irvine. They had this program where we thought, okay, maybe let's try. And we did it. We got it. So to develop the piece, we had very short time. And that was amazing. We did it there. And after that, this piece went to ZKM, and ZKM, which is the Zentrum for Kunst and Media in Germany, a very important space for art and technology. As you know, Peter Weibel saw the piece and he said, I want to buy it. And they bought it for their collection. And then Itaú Cultural also bought this piece. So the piece is still alive. And what's really nice. It's still alive like a lab almost. The interaction is still, when people are discovering other kinds of interactions with this piece, but also Urtiaga has something fun because in 2005, when we did that, we had a technology available that we don't, and ZKM keeps it the way it is. Mm-hmm. That's the way they do. They like to keep the technology exactly the way it is to tell that story. But Itaú travels a lot with the piece. Mm-hmm. And this becomes very difficult when the technology gets older to assemble and all this. So in 2021, we developed a new version with a total new, it's totally, the technology for the senses are very new, different and much more easier to assemble, but the effect is exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And what it is fun because it becomes like a lab, right? Yeah. It becomes something that you explore other possibilities, something that was not there at the time, and now it is. And so it gains resolution. That's what I feel when we touch like that a project.
That is fabulous. And Rejane, the other piece that we select is Infinite Cube from 2007. And again, you are creating a new environment in this fantastic piece that create infinite reflections, different effects. Tell us about your creative process and also the reaction of people inside of the cube.
I'm very happy that we are talking about Infinite Cube right after Urtiaga because they connect. They connect in the way that now I am with a different partner. I'm working with Leonardo Crescenti, Infinito ao Cubo, Infinite Cubed. And I started dating Leo at the moment. So he said, I want to work together with you. He came from the photography and cinema. And I thought the only thing that connects us in terms of work is cinema, right? And I was studying at that moment, I was studying future cinema a lot. That was my post-Ph.D. And then I remember we told each other, would be really nice to invent a new type of screen, something that's holographic, something that we could maybe see in many dimensions. And to do that, we worked with mirrors. So we had Urtiaga before. It's a total virtual software development and a lot of interface with sensor, all this. This project is totally mechanic. Infinite Cubed, even though it's later than the other one, this one is mechanic. You could have made it in the 15th century, probably, with mirrors and wood and springs. That's how it takes. The thing is, to do the holographic screen that we were trying at the very beginning, we started scratching some mirrors, and then it was ugly. It was awful. It didn't come well, the hypothesis, but then somehow we assemble all the mirrors we had together. And because of the way we were doing that, we were improvising, the mirrors, they were not touching. And then we just realized that we could look inside. When we looked inside of this mock-up, we saw this space. And then immediately I thought, we need to be inside and we need to change the space with our own body. And then the project comes up by itself. So it's a box, 3 meters by 3 by 3. Our mirrors outside. And so you don't see it. It's almost invisible. But once you open the door and you go inside, you are in an infinite space. Yeah. And then the lines that you see are not lines. They are like this space that's not connecting the cube. So the lights from the outside is coming inside and is designing the whole space. So I remember when I first showed to buy the mirrors, that to the person that was selling us the mirrors, he said, what kind of software are you using? And we said, we are not using wireframe, any kinds of softwares. This is light designing inside of a mirrored cube. And then the whole trick is these walls, the front wall and the back wall, they move. The front basculates. The other one turns like that. And then because it's on the top of the springs, when you are inside, you move it with the weight of your body, and then the lines design the space different, right? So it's only mechanics.
Wow.
But the effects are like...
Yeah, and you are creating a new space inside of the cube, but also we select soil from 2010, that is an interaction piece that you invite people to play in your artwork, right? To see the physical deformation, maybe.
Yeah, this is fun because soil comes with a lot of other works, research we did on floors, floors that move. And soil, the question behind the project was, what about gravity? When I step in a place, what kind of waves do I produce? Do the other people can feel it? And in soil, yes, because once you step on the floor moves and it produces radial waves that like shake your body, the body that's of your neighbor, of somebody else on the floor, the same floor. So it's fun. It's something really, again, springs, again, it's a very mechanical piece. And it's a piece that it's funny because it has been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, it's it is right now we're seeing this photo taking from an installation that was in New York, an invitation by the Curators Project. And that was fun because also you have to think that all those projects, everyone, they are site-specific. So anytime we need to know the space, we have to make questions. What kind of public are we going to have? How many people? That was fun because in this space, we had a line. And I mean, but that was so well organized. That was unbelievable. But it's fun. A lot of people shakes it a lot. It's like one person moves it by itself. So it's a fun piece.
Yeah, and also, we select Solar from 2009, and I think that this is a totally different piece. It's a robotic installation, and also you put intention the time and space experience, right?
Right. Solar is probably, when I finished Solar, I told Leo, again, I did this piece with Leonardo. And I told Leo I could die after doing Solar. Solar is probably the most difficult piece I did in my life so far. One of those, maybe Quantum also is same level. But Solar was like, we had no money. 3 weeks before the opening, the money arrived. And we had to do everything. Which was really nice is that the curator at the museum at the time, Daniela Bolso, she allowed us to use the museum as a lab. So we were building it partially, day by day. And also you have to think that the teams, the money we have, everything's super limited. But Solar also was exhibited at Mexico City for the celebration of Ars Electronica sport in Mexico City when Mexico was celebrating 200 years of freedom and 500 years of discovery and things like that. So it was really amazing. The piece is like you can select through dials on the floor the moment in time you are, the month and the day. And positioning yourself on the top of this platform, you select where you are towards the earth. So you're looking at the earth, you are here in the middle, and on the top of your head is the sun.
Mhm.
So when you move on the earth and you select the time, this sun, which is a light, positions itself where the sun would be in that space-time. That's what is solar. I love it. It's really dramatic.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and I am curious about the reaction of the audience inside of Solar.
So one thing that's really amazing is to start with, we have this panoramic view of Earth,
Mhm.
and we can position ourselves on that. And this is fun. Another thing that's fun, we could control it by talking to it. At the moment, there was really new technology. So this was like, now we are talking to our machines, but by then it was not that common. And Solar, to me, it's funny, every piece has a kind of habit that the public creates, right? In
Mhm.
Solar, everybody that went to the piece, they position themselves, the date they were born, in the place they were born. So we were in Mexico, and people would come from the US, and they would select the city in the US and the date and time of their birthday. So this is so amazing, because it's kind of trying to understand nature. This moment of creation, I don't know, that was sublime to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And you know, Rejane, the next piece is Tunnel. That is an amazing piece, a kinetic art, we can say, with a lot of influences that we can figure out in your artwork. But could you talk about your creative dimension that you find in electronic art, and about the connection with the art history at the same time, right?
Right. So Tunnel is fun because Tunnel has no, it won a mention by Ars Electronica,
Mhm.
but the piece itself is all mechanics. But the building of the piece involves a lot of digital knowledge and a lot of mathematics. You have to be able to do a lot of, and cutting the time. At that time, when we built the piece, we did it, all the screws, it's like a big Lego. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to travel as much as we did with this piece and show it in so many places. But this Lego was not done by industry, right? The screws and all we had to do it hand at that moment. And that involved a lot of mathematics. The plans need to be super good. And that's where it involved a lot of digital knowledge. Solar, on the other hand, is a piece that has a lot of software involved. And I've been working a lot since 2000 with Victor Gomes. He is the software developer of most of my pieces. And it's funny because you see that the pieces, they become so big that the teams, like I told you at the very beginning, when you have an idea, to make it, you need to design the idea, to design the team that's involved in the idea also. So my teams, they change according to the challenge of the project, but few people stay. And Tunnel is really something that works with optical art, right? It has a lot to do with that. And once you walk on the top of it, also, if we think about cymatics, if you think about Julio Leparc, I remember this piece, first time we showed this piece, it was in a celebration of a museum in São Paulo. And Julio Leparc was the first piece of the exhibition. This piece, his piece was a piece that you enter a room and you breathe on it. And these little mirrors, they move. It's interactive. Yeah. It's 1964.
Yeah.
It's so impressive. It's so moving. And so he came for the opening. And our piece was the last piece of the exhibition. And he stepped on it and he walked through that. And he told me, move the lights. Because, you know, the exhibition had a setup, and the lights were like in the limit, but he wanted me to push more the lights to build more shades, to work more with it. But yes, this is the inspiration. It comes from Le Parc, Cruz Dias, it comes from Mondrian, it comes from Leonardo da Vinci, it comes from everywhere, right? Because, like I told you, once you have an idea, the main thing is to build it. And to build a good idea, you need to research a lot and to dialogue with all the people that have been kind of finding this way before you or with you when we have the contemporary artists, right, together.
That is fabulous. And it's for that we are so excited about Arteônica, because we will have your creation here in dialogue with Ana Livia Cordeiro, with Marta Boto, with Francesco Mariotti, Vittoria Criff, a lot of artists that are experiment with the intersection between art, science, and technology in different way, right? And in different perspective. But all of you are talking and paying tribute also to the pioneers that you mentioned. Julio Lepard, that is an Argentinian pioneer kinetic artist, Cruz Diez from Venezuela, and a lot of artists that in different moments, right, they start to create with the tools that they have in that moment. And now you have a lot of experiences, but a lot of tools to create these amazing pieces. And Rejane, well, and the next piece is Speak Fala, that we will present here at MOLAA in September. And I think it's an amazing piece that you put in dialogue, a different topic that is communication, but also identity, representation, listening, right? You are invite people to participate, but at the same time, you create a different information through these machines.
Yeah, Fala, it's funny how we started. We were like another friend, he invited us to propose a project. And we didn't win the prize, but this triggers us to think about cell phones. And then we thought, okay, great. We have what is a cell phone, right? And it's funny because we thought, once I have a cell phone in my hand and I go to a place, when I get to this place, if I look, my cell phone is already connecting through the internet to the place with other machines, it's dialoguing. So how can I understand this talk, the talk between machines? So this is the main question behind the project that started in 2007, in fact. This main question came in 2007, and it was, the cell phones are talking. What are they talking? How can we understand what they are saying? So it was a kind of the opposite side of the conversation, trying to figure that out. So I remember we were invited by a festival that happens in Colombia called Festival de la Imagen. And to present a work, but they didn't have money for us to bring anything big. So we decided to buy ourselves 8 cell phones and do it. And start habla, right? Start this project, habla. So we got there 1 month later, the software was working more or less. And I remember that was fascinating because we put a microphone so people could interact with the machines. The machines, they would speak between themselves. The people would interact. And how would the machines speak between themselves? In this case, we thought, okay, they are going to listen to each other And if we have, at the moment, the cell phones, they spoke 20 languages. When we got a new phone, we could select between languages. And there was like 20 languages. And we thought, okay, so if we have 8 phones, they are going to speak 4 languages. They are going to speak Spanish, English, French, and Portuguese. And then there is always a pair, right? So one that speaks and one that listens. So that one can dialogue with the one that's speaking. And through that, we thought, but that is something even more fun, because if I say a word, asa, in Portuguese, asa means probably the same in Spanish. So the Spanish team would be able to interact and get into the conversation and derive this conversation. And so that's how they work. They listen to what's going on. And then they go into their library. Their experience is a library of words. About 3,000 words, the most common spoken words in every language that we program. Now they are speaking 20 languages. The one that you are going to be seeing in MOLAA is like talking 20 different languages. And then they all listen to the sound made. They go to the library. If they have that sound, they find the synonymous for the sound, and then they replicate with the synonymous. So if I say house, the other one can say apartment, and the other one can say, I don't know, whatever. And whatever they say, everybody's listening. And if the sound is the same, because sometimes they relate to each other through semantics, which is saying house, apartment, but also they can misunderstand each other. So if I say house, the other one can understand mouse, and then goes to animals, and then goes to cat, and then goes to pet. And that's the way it goes. So what is fun about the project is us, because it was developed, 2008 was the idea, 2011 is the first implementation with the 20 languages. That's the one that we are taking to you. And now, because the 2011 piece has 2011 cell phones, they are starting to have problems to get into the internet and all this. So they're getting old. And then we did a totally new version where everybody's polyglot. So the technology has changed so much that now all the phones, they speak the 20 languages. It's like us. We are speaking much more languages now. Yes. And it's so much fun, because also the way they communicate now is through internet, not before the program was installed in every cell phone. So it's the evolution and the invitation that you made obliged us to think about it and to make it a lab, turn it into a lab and discover what's going on with this kind of technology today. And finally, what I think is so crazy about this project, when you think about AI today, and when you think about the way it's evolving, and when we think about LLM systems that are based in language, natural languages, and the way these systems talk is by going to a big data bank, selecting a word, and then previewing by habit, previewing by the way we humans talk the next word. Fala was not too far from this thinking. So this is crazy. This is very interesting.
No, it's amazing. It's that you are creating a continuum symphony, right?
Yeah, I also, because when they arrived, when the equipment arrived, the 4D cell phones in our studio and with the tripods, right? And we put them together, they were a chorus. They were a chorus. I mean, they themselves, the technology showed us their looks. It showed us how to communicate with them. And now the cell phones, they are twice the size, the screens. So it's going to be like really impressive because you are facing this 4D cell phone stalking. And when you go to the microphone, it's your chance to interrupt that communication. When you interrupt that communication, you say a word. So they listen to you, and now they start talking inspired by the word that you said. And the crazy thing is that they're making no senses because they don't have this system now, doesn't have any AI to it, especially because the time it was developed. But it's natural to have in the future, probably. But right now it doesn't have. But we, with our minds, we give sense to this conversation. We kind of think, oh, the system is happy. The system is unhappy. You have the feeling. We give attributes. We give the feelings.
No, that is amazing. And also, it's a really important topic because all of us are thinking about the relationship between humans and the machines, the pros and cons, right? And it's fabulous. We are so happy, Rejane. And well, time flies, and I would like to invite Alison and Daniel to open the Q&A session because I think that our audiences, maybe they will have a lot of questions about your fantastic and inspiring work, Rejane.
Hello, yes, thank you so much. We actually do have a number of questions from the audience here. Two are sort of related, so if you don't mind, I'm going to combine them a little bit. This is from Ryan Nieto and Benjamin Morado. Ryan is asking about how you go about researching and connecting with various professionals when you begin a project. And Benjamin is asking if you could talk a little bit about the essential questions you ask yourself when you develop a new project. So I think maybe we can combine those two things together. If you have an opportunity to share how you network or how these questions you ask yourself, how do you start something new?
Okay, so Ryan, right?
Yes.
I start with Ryan's question. Ryan, the thing, I will mix them, but I will start with this approach because to put up a team, problem is always the limit of money and time, right? But I discover with time that the best thing to do is to look for the best. You just go and ask people and get them involved with your idea. That's why I told you the idea needs to be good enough for many people. And then it's easy to convince people to be with you because normally we don't have much money. And we don't have much time. Two things that are very important for a very good project. But with time, I discovered that, yes, very good team, the best professionals, make it easy, make it possible, make it with less time. Even though at the beginning, it may sound expensive, it's a good investment. So also pick people with passion because that makes all the difference, right? And the second question was about, can you just, no,
It was when you're beginning or developing a new project, can you share what essential questions you ask yourself when you begin?
Yes, so I am a journalist. And then you need to ask 5 main questions, which are where, when, with whom, right? What and why. So if you start an idea, asking questions to the idea, mainly why are you doing that? Is that important? Like I told you, did anybody do it before you? Who did it? Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you have, who is going to be talking to you during the, because when you do a project, when you put up an idea out, it means that you are in a communication process, right? Who are you addressing to? Who are you talking to? Especially if you're dealing with interaction. And so if we start asking those questions, especially because I'm always working with installations that are designed, site-specific installation, I need to know this place, this space. I need to know the story of this space. You know, I've been to MOLAA already. I went to see the space because that's the way you feel it. That's the way you learn about it, and you learn how to communicate with the space, with the people, and with the variables that you have available.
I love that. That's fantastic. There's so many logistics together and putting together the art as well, especially these project-based. We do have another quick question from Leslie Jimenez. She actually has two. So the shorter one is, you mentioned in Speak that you had so many languages that you were working with. In your installation Solar, you mentioned that it could take voice commands as well. Was that also multilingual in there?
It was.
It was. Okay.
It was a software designed from a Brazilian company. Right now, you have other possibilities. You have infinite possibilities right now. But at the moment, we were working with this company. And yes, when we present that in Mexico, for example, it was talking Spanish and English and Portuguese and.
I love that. And then her second was, she mentioned your work is such a treat for linguistic anthropology and art fans. So she's curious about the big order idea or project that you're currently working on, and does it include this element to it for future?
Okay, so right now I'm working a lot in Speak because like I said, we decided it's a 6-month exhibition. So just to give an example to Benjamin and Ryan, that they were like, it connects to that. When comes the invitation from the museum, we have a time, and we have also, how long is it going to stay there? How many people is going to be interacting with the people? All those with this piece. All those questions are super important because like when we saw the project, the state it is now, the 2011 version, and the problems we could be facing, and me and my team in São Paulo, and the piece will be there. I will go for the assembling, but the piece will be there. And when I go to the assembling, which is really nice also, is that, of course, I start interacting with the team of MOLAA, and I started to, it's a share of knowledge. Immediately, we are sharing everything. It's so much fun. I love it. And but of course, there are things and there are ways of leaving the piece in communication with my team in Brazil as well. But we thought 6 months for 2011 phones to be on all the time without turning it off. It's way too much. So Itaú, Fundação Itaú and Itaú Cultural, who own the piece, they decided to invest on it, and they remodel it completely. So we have new technology that will be able to face it. And there was streaming. It's like, it's good luck. It's people with you. Like I told you, it's people dreaming with me. Itaú is dreaming, MOLAA is dreaming, we are all dreaming. That's going to be a fabulous experience.
I love that. And then we have, if we have time, we have one more question too. This is from Crystal. She says, do you find that a language dominates in the installation of Speak? How do you feel about how that impacts what conversations are heard and engaged? And lastly, outside of the audience giving inspiration and interrupting the phones, how is the audience isolated or integrated into the conversation? And I will, Crystal, if you have any clarifying, please do jump in and let me know.
Okay, so the thing is, no, the dominance, it depends what the piece is. Like I said, it's a site specific. If it goes to MOLAA, it's going to be probably talking English and Spanish more than Portuguese, right? And when in Brazil, it's going to be speaking. And what we do, we add to the data bank of the languages that I was saying, we add local information. So normally we put the name of the city, we put things that belong to your place. So we program it there. One thing that's very curious, when we took the piece to China, I don't speak any Chinese, right? But the piece was speaking Chinese beautifully. And then we took it to China in 2016. I don't remember exactly, but it was during the Olympics. And I remember I was talking about the piece, that the piece speaks by itself. And then a Chinese looked at me and said, oh my God, how come? You mean that there is no censorship in this piece? Yes, it doesn't have any censorship. And it speaks bad words as well, because this data bank is the bank of words that people talk. We talk, we say sometimes a S word, right? Because we are, and the piece has the same thing. The piece reflects us. So, but it's well-behaved, Gabriela, don't worry, normally. So the second question, the second part was about...
and I'm sorry, I think it just disappeared from the chat. Let me see if I can pull that back up. Let's see. So, and lastly, outside of the audience giving inspiration and interrupting the phones, how is the audience isolated or integrated into the conversation?
So look, how do you feel when you listen to a radio? Sometimes if the radio is fun. How do you feel when you go and listen to a poem and something like that? This piece is one-by-one interaction. From my pieces, it's rare that I do one-by-one interaction, but this is a very intellectual piece in a way, because it's building up a text. And our brain is designed to read that text and to listen to that carefully. So what happens is we keep an eye on it. You'll be amazed by the interpretation, by the way people relate to that, because it's true. They think they give the humanize the machine in a way. We do that. It's talking. The thing is talking. The thing has like a body, and it's changing the words in it. So it's quite fascinating. I think I could be there looking at it for a while. Not because I'm the one imagine, but I saw it happening many times.
I love it. And then since we have just 2 minutes, this might be too large of a question, but we can start maybe to begin, and then of course continue the conversation in September. For one of our guests, Lita, this brings up a lot of thoughts about her considering the idea of art and technology, and it's making her think of like the popular Wii games on Xbox, the early 90s and the 2000s, and interactive video games. And so I think she's looking to see, can you talk a little bit about, is there a distinction between art and technology? Like if it's a video game that's doing something like this versus an installation in a museum, where do they cross? Do they not? Like if you could share your thoughts maybe on that.
So look, remember at the very beginning, I said, I started with a dream. Always. When you start with a dream, we don't think I'm going to use this technology. You think, what kind of tool do I need to take that idea out from my brain and put that in the world in a way that people could experience that the way I am experiencing? So sometimes I need to write a book to express an idea. Sometimes I need a game arcade to present that to the people. So in a way, I think, don't think about, is it art, is it technology? Just dream an idea. Try to assemble that. And I tell you, if by any chance that idea does fine in the game world, you are fine, you'll be rich. If it doesn't, you go to the museum and you are fine too, because you are going to be meeting so many wonderful people and be able to communicate it to your idea to a lot of people. So it's like, don't think about the result, think about the experience and live it the best way, and don't be shy, don't be afraid of. One thing about innovation that I always say is, how do you find an innovator? An innovator is somebody that has an idea. He doesn't have a team. He doesn't have a lab. He doesn't have a museum. He doesn't have anything. He just has an idea. He's so persistent. He's so stubborn that he keeps that idea on until he develops that and then surprises us with such a thing that was not existent. So just trust your dreams.
I love that. And with that, I think that is an absolute fantastic note to end on. I want to thank both Gabriela Urtiaga and Rejane Cantoni for joining us this afternoon. This has been incredibly enlightening. Of course, thank you to our audience for joining us today. We will be seeing Rejane's work in September as part of Arteônica, the Pacific Standard Time Project initiative from the Getty. We're so excited. Everyone, again, please join us next month. We'll have another chapter of Zoom Project. If you have any questions or posts following up from this particular interview, feel free to email us info@molaa.org or education@molaa.org, and we'll pass those questions along to the artist and to our chief curator. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you. Everyone, have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Rejane.
Oh, it was lovely. I love it.
You are an inspiration, really inspiration.
I can't wait to be there, for us to be working together. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I am